subject in engineering, which is the basics for all other important core subjects in your ensuing semesters. So as you know very well, this engineering mechanics is a science which is the study of a particle or an object when the number of forces under action on the particle or on the rigid object. So basically, engineering mechanics is a branch of science which deals with the behavior of a body with the state of rest or motion under the action of forces. Okay, so this just an introduction. We can classify this engineering mechanics subjects into two major groups, namely statics and dynamics. Statics and dynamics, and further this statics and dynamics. This dynamics can be divided into two major groups: kinematics and kinetics. K-I-N-E-T-I-C-S, kinetics. Okay. Statics means which deals with the study of a body and the body is at rest. So when we talk about dynamics, the body is in motion. So kinematics is study of the body in motion. So when the body is in motion, so dynamic means it is in the body is in motion when the forces which cause the motion are not considered. So here forces not taken into account or considered for any calculation of in the problems. So that branch of science is called as kinematics. If the force is also taken into account to do the calculation or solve the problem, then those types of problems and that science is called kinetics. And before entering into the subjects, you should know the fundamentals in calculus, algebra and trigonometry. Those are the prerequisites I have told you already. Okay, so let us first define the two important factors, vectors and scalars. S-C-A-L-A-R-S, scalars. So scalars and vectors are the two different types of quantities we have to define at this stage. So a quantity which is completely defined by magnitude and direction. So when you have magnitude and also plus direction of any quantity, if you want to define, then those types of quantities are called vectors. So some quantities are there which will be or which can be defined only using magnitude alone. So those quantities are called scalars. So example for vectors is force. You can take as a force, acceleration and velocity. Force, acceleration, velocity. You can take it as an example. This notation, for example, if I want to notate a force, so I can put a mark over the that letter, so that denotes it's a vector quantity. For scalar, where we have only the magnitude, the examples will be mass and the speed. Okay, only the magnitude. We need not, if we want to define the speed, we need not mention the direction, but only the magnitude is enough. Okay, magnitude means magnitude at what speed an object is moving or traveling. So mass, speed, distance. Okay, length. Okay, time, area, temperature. So these are some well-known scalars. So these are the scalars quantities where only the magnitude is enough to define them. Okay, but in vectors we should define with both the magnitude and also with the direction. Then only we can define any vector quantity. The example will be the acceleration, velocity, or displacement. Displacement is a vector quantity. Displacement is a vector quantity, but distance is a scalar quantity. And here mass is a scalar quantity, but weight, importantly, weight is an vector quantity. Weight is an vector quantity, but scalar, the mass is an scalar quantity. So with this fundamental, we can understand the two types of quantities are available. So how you represent a vector by an arrow mark. So this is a representation of vector. For example, this P, starting point O, and this point A. So OA is a vector with magnitude V. So I can represent this as P vector of P. So this is the can be written as OA vector. This one can be written as OA vector. Okay. For example, if I take the force I will be representing by some F vector. Its units can be 10 Newton. It can be 10 Newton, 10 kilonewton, 10 meganewton. So these are the fundamental units of this force where it can be measured. So kilonewton, you know that it's 10 power 3 and 10 power 6. Okay. And if I want to find out the direction, I have to find out theta. If I want to find out the theta, that means if they ask in the problem, find out the direction of the force, it means that they are asking you to find out the theta in that problem. That one you have to understand. Okay. So before entering the subject, we should know the different laws of mechanics, different fundamental laws of mechanics. So laws of mechanics. Laws of mechanics. We have some 7 laws, important laws. We'll see one by one. And some of the laws you may be knowing it already. For example, first one is the Newton's law. Newton's laws. So in Newton's law, you know there are 3 laws. First law, second law, and third law. 3 laws of Newton. Then law of gravitation. We will see one by one. Law of gravitation. Then third one is Lami's theorem. So this one I'll tell you when covering this theorem. Okay, Lami's theorem. Lami's Lami apostrophe S theorem. Lami's theorem. That's a very important theorem to solve problems. Lot of questions will be asked using this theorem. You can solve lot of problems there. Okay, that is Lami's theorem. Then parallelogram law of forces. Parallelogram law of forces. Then triangular law of forces. Then this one I will tell you one by one. Parallelogram law and triangular law. Okay. Then polygonal law. Polygonal, P-O-L-Y-G-O-N-A-L, polygonal law of forces. Then 7, transmissibility. Transmissibility of forces or transmissibility principle of forces. Transmissibility of forces. So this is actually a principle. Transmissibility principle of force. So these are the important some 7 laws. These laws are called as laws of mechanics. So if you know this one, so you can solve lot of problems. Okay. So this Newton's first law, Newton's second law and all, you might have studied already, and those things you know them. Okay. For example, if I take this Newton's first law, this Newton's first law states that a particle remains at rest or continues to move in a straight line with a constant speed if the resultant force acting on it is 0. That means if any particle, see there is a particle, okay, if the resultant force is 0, that is the resultant force R acting on this particle is 0, then this particle remains at rest or it continuously, if it is already in motion, it will try to move if the resultant is 0. That means, for example, if I take a body which is at rest, if I am not disturbing it, it will be continuously at rest. And if a body is already moving from one point to another, if I am not disturbing, if any forces is not disturbing that particular body, it will be continuously moving. Okay, that's what this Newton's law says. But practically, the continually moving body will be coming to rest after some time due to some external forces. Okay. Then second law, the resultant force. Second law states that the resultant force acting on a particle is not 0 if the resultant force is not equal to 0. The first law says that if the resultant is 0, then that particular body, when it is at rest, it will be at rest. When it is moving, it will be continuously moving. The second law says that if this R is not equal to 0, if R is not equal to 0, the body will be moving or accelerating in the direction of resultant, and it will be directly proportional to this resultant. That's what this Newton's law says, second law says. That means when a body is moving, or if it is at rest, and if the resultant of the force acting on that particular body is not equal to 0, then this body will be moving in the direction of this resultant, and it will be directly proportional to the value of this resultant. If the resultant value is more, it will be its acceleration will be more. So that's what this second law says. That from that only we derived this formula F equal to ma. F equal to ma came from the second law of Newton. So F is directly proportional to the acceleration. So m is a constant. M is a mass, is a constant, and collectively this ma is called as inertia force. You have to note that this ma is otherwise called as, this collectively is called as inertia force of the body. Then this third law is, you know it very well. So to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Okay, if there is an action on a body, so it will be having equal and opposite reaction. If I am pushing this body, so there will be an equal and opposite reaction. So that's what this third law says. So these are the 3 important laws of Newton. Okay, that's the one which constitute the laws of mechanics, the important laws of mechanics. Okay, so according to this law, the second law, that is law of gravitation, what it says, this force is directly proportional. This force, law of gravitation, if I am 2 masses, okay, m1 and m2, this force is directly proportional to the product of these two masses, and inversely proportional. It will be inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. So the r is the distance between these two masses. Okay, one mass is here and another mass here. The distance between these two masses is r. Then this force will be directly proportional to the square of the distance. Okay, so to remove this proportionality, I will be introducing a constant, that is a capital G. So this G is called as universal gravitational constant. Universal gravitational constant, capital G. So Lami's theorem, I'll tell you after seeing this law. So in the next page. Okay, so Lami's theorem is an important theorem, so which is used to solve lot of problems. Okay, parallelogram law of forces says that, okay, this parallelogram law states that, parallelogram law what it says, parallelogram law says that if I am having two forces, say F1 and another force is F2, okay, F1 and F2. See, not necessarily like this. The same point O, the one force may be like this F1 and another force may be like this F2. Okay, so make these two forces to the adjacent side, to make it these two forces as an adjacent side of an parallelogram. So if I complete this parallelogram, it will be looking like this. Okay, this can be a parallelogram. So this force will be, this distance will be equal to F2 and this distance will be equal to F1. So this constitutes a parallelogram. So if I am having two forces and if I make these two forces as an adjacent side of a parallelogram with an angle of inclination theta, okay, then the resultant force, okay, if I want to calculate the resultant force of F1 and F2, that resultant force magnitude will be the diagonal of this parallelogram. So the value of this resultant will be r vector, will be the length of this diagonal, and the direction will be alpha. So that will be the value of inclination from the horizontal, alpha. So r2, that is r vector, will be equal to the resultant. Okay, that r vector can be calculated using this formula, F1 square, that is first force square, plus F2 square plus 2 F1 F2 cos theta square root. Okay, F1 square plus F2 square plus 2 F1 F2 into cos theta. So theta is the angle between these two forces. Theta is the angle between these two forces, and also we can calculate alpha also. Alpha, what is alpha? Alpha is the angle of inclination of this resultant r. That also we can calculate using the formula